Microsoft is popping in the after hours after the company reported their Q1 earnings after the bell. We'll also get into the fact that they give you Q2 guidance on the call. You have to wait until about 3 p.m. Pacific time. They give you this guidance almost on the hour, and we'll go through that as well. We'll talk about how that relates to the upcoming revenue estimates that Wall Street has for Microsoft. Take a look at the different business segments that Microsoft has going on. Now, this isn't just an exercise to look at Microsoft. When you have their cloud business, I tell you what, you can come and draw some conclusions. We already saw what Google did. You can probably draw some conclusions what Amazon is going to do. Probably more importantly here as well, you've got these Windows OEM numbers. That's the Windows that gets installed onto those new computers. That also got to get out of here like this fly. I tell you what, very important. You're going to want to wait till my commentary there. Now, we've also got all the financials, the revenues, the profits, the balance sheet, the cash flows, and then the all-important technical pattern. I'm seeing in the after-hours shares of Microsoft continue to move higher after being up during the regular trade. Talk about what this means from a technical perspective. This one looking pretty darn good, to give you a little spoiler alert. Over the last year, shares of Microsoft up over 33%, year to date up over 38%. And if the trend continues, looks like we'll head higher. We got about a $2.5 trillion market cap on this one. So to be up this much this year, this stock better be doing some good things. And it really is. Over the last quarter, the company put it $56.5 billion. We'll come over here and show you that to you and show you how well this company controls its costs. So every dollar that you get up here on the total revenue side, we're going to show you flows pretty much all the way down to the net earnings over at this company. Beat on both that top and the bottom line. Most importantly, you got Q2 guidance. Again, this company's on a funky fiscal system. This was Q1. Most companies are like in Q3 or reporting Q3 numbers. This company reporting Q1. Next quarter is considered Q2 for Microsoft. They gave you guidance for the productivity business, the intelligent cloud. Now, most important thing is they gave us guidance for personal computing, and that was well ahead of what you normally see, over $16.5 billion of revenue there. And that is because the Activision deal closed, and that's where they're lumping that business unit. So I noticed that revenue guidance totals are calling for over $60 billion, maybe high as $61.4 billion in revenue for the upcoming quarter. When you look at Wall Street's estimates, it was for an average of about $58.6 billion. The high end was for 62. My guess is this is just laziness by Wall Street analysts. Many of them just really won't update their numbers until they're basically told to or they have to. So this guidance looks really good in the fact that Microsoft's guiding to $61 billion. Again, they just put up a quarter where they beat by nearly $2 billion. So if they do that again, they're going to come at like 63, maybe even as close to $64 billion worth of revenue in the upcoming quarter. And again, Wall Street's only expecting 58, but my guess again is Wall Street estimates did not include that Activision deal, which is now being lumped into this personal computing segment. Now, still well north of 11% growth, 12%, 13% growth for the upcoming quarters. And that's what Wall Street has this one pegged at. We just did a video on Google. You're also looking at a low double-digit growth rate on that company. Now, things look absolutely fantastic when you look at the Azure business, up 28% year over year, certainly taking some business from Google as they saw their growth rate slow down there. We'll see how this translates over into Amazon, I think in just tomorrow. But Microsoft just absolutely capturing market share, certainly from Google, and we'll see tomorrow if they're gobbling up market share from Amazon as well. Here's something really important. Windows OEM, this is basically just the company installing their Windows software on new PCs. And this growth rate was actually negative for the last couple of quarters, and it just turned positive. This is on the heels of Taiwan Semi, Intel. I think we've gotten even some commentary from AMD as well, saying that we've seen a trough, if not a bottom, in the PC market, and this would support that. So this is bullish for Intel. This is bullish for AMD. Those two companies in particular. You probably could throw the memory companies in there as well. But it's really your x86 processors that are running a lot of this Windows OEM stuff. That is pretty bullish across the board. Man, things are looking pretty darn good over at Microsoft. We have that $56.5 billion worth of revenue. Here's what's really impressive is we'll call that $6.5 billion worth of growth year over year. Last year, you're at 50.1. The left-hand column is our most recent quarter. We flow down here to gross margin, and we see we went from 34.7 up to 40.2. So, I mean, you're flowing a massive amount of this revenue growth all the way down here to gross margin, and look at your expenses year over year. Your R&D budget barely moved. Your sales and marketing budget barely moved. Your general administrative expenses barely moved. Operating income went from 21.5 all the way up to $26.9 billion, adding over $5.3 billion worth of operating income. And again, in a quarter where we added just over $6 billion. So a lot of that revenue growth flows all the way to the bottom line. Now, will it happen in this upcoming quarter as you bring on a new company? There's executives and there's other types of compensation that they're going to have to roll through. Probably not, but as you lap into next year and certainly a year and a half, 2 years out, you certainly will see this. Now, the company at this current moment has a boatload of cash because these financials ended September 30th, 2023. But after that Activision deal closed, we would assume this massive $144 billion worth of cash, that's going to take a little bit of a hit as the company closed on that $69 billion Activision Blizzard deal. They do have some debt and these types of things, but come over here to cash flows. It's going to show you you're not really overly concerned about it. Net income coming in at $22.3 billion, up from about 17.5 last year. You're adding back stock-based compensation. All this stuff looks very Google-like. And the fact that you printed $30 billion worth of operating cash flow in a quarter. We can't get past this. I know you're on Twitter. I know you're watching CNBC. I know you're watching Peter Schiff or any of these guys, and I think this is great. This is not a criticism of anybody that's kind of a doom and gloomer out there. What you have to remember when they're pulling all their graphs and they're showing you this happened in 1970, this is what happened last time interest rates were at 8, blah, 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 stock market goes down. What you have to remember, what are you buying when you're buying a stock? You are buying revenue growth, you're buying the future revenue growth, you're buying profits, you're buying cash flow. And right now, this company, and this is not speaking for all companies or the broader market, right now, Microsoft is knocking it out of the park. Right now, Microsoft gave you guidance for the upcoming Q2, which they have visibility into. It's looking absolutely freaking fantastic. They issued some debt, looks like maybe probably for that Activision deal. And also what I noticed is they slowed down just a little bit on that common stock repurchases. I mean, look, shares of Microsoft over the last quarter have kind of retested highs. I don't mind them pulling back a little bit on those share repurchases and maybe reinvesting into the future. That slowed down a little bit, but tell you what, you're just absolutely knocking out of the park financially when it comes to Microsoft. And in the after hours, shareholders are rewarding the company. We put up a fake green candle here. We'll see where shares of Microsoft close tomorrow. You're essentially consolidating around the highs. You made highs back in November 2021, early 2022. You made some highs up here in the 330 range, and more or less since June, you've just been chopping in this area until you get a decisive break to the upside or a decisive break to the downside. You just assume shares are chopping here. You can easily accumulate shares. I wouldn't be really aggressive because you are in the micro trend. You're making a high, lower high, lower high, lower low, lower low. That is showing you that the trend in this is actually lower. However, again, if we get a close above 340, it would actually cancel out that micro trend and bring back in these highs that we made up here at about 350. Shorter term momentum people can certainly play kind of that upside breakout with this one. You break above 350, you're probably retesting these highs up here at 366, potentially making a new high, 370, 375, 380, as this trend is still certainly intact where you've got a high, a higher high. And then I'll zoom this out to a much broader view. We'll get kind of on a monthly view here with Microsoft, and you are going to see since the lows of the March 2009, it's not drawn in there like great. It's probably more like that. You are on a skyscraper-like uptrend in this one. You are well above trend. So I wouldn't be like running out to buy shares of Microsoft. But if you, for some reason, have market pullbacks and you get a pullback closer to trend, well, those are areas that are very exciting. But this company has so much tailwind behind it, right? It's got this Windows OEM business. This is going to probably be pretty darn good heading into next year. I mean, we're not talking Azure-like growth, 28%, but this business, while it went negative after kind of the pandemic refresh cycle, this is going to turn positive. You got the Activision Blizzard deal coming on. That'll contribute to revenues and profits. And then finally, obviously, the elephant in the room we haven't even mentioned is you've got Office 365 Copilot. Customers are going to be upgrading that all season and all year, and it's just going to lead to more and more revenue and more profits for Microsoft. Folks, hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. We'll be back again later this week as Amazon and Meta report their earnings. Until then, we'll see you again soon, and good luck with your investments.